Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Tuesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. Austin Reaves drops 41, but a shorthanded Lakers crew lose to Portland. What can we take away from it? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everyone for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter where you get your podcasts. This one's always going to be free and never locked behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 36,000, damn near 37,000 subscribers to the channel, Andy, all of whom I would think are, respectful certainly of the effort the Lakers put out against Portland on Monday night. I don't think shorthanded is a fair description of what the Lakers were.
It is, and I'll explain why, but continue. I think it's actually in a lot of ways the perfect word for it.
I think it's not even like descriptive enough of how many people they were missing.
I actually will get into it. I think it's actually in a lot of ways the literally perfect.
I think I know where you're going, but
yes.
I thought we were like one step away from Chris Kaman lying down on the bench. But before we get there, I do need to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use a code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. So I'm just going to run through the list of players who were not available in this game for the Lakers on the second night of a back-to-back following a game where they were shorthanded in Sacramento on Sunday. So no Luka Dončić, no LeBron James, no Marcus Smart, no Jaxson Hayes, no Gabe Vincent, who's going to be out for a little while. We'll try to get to that before the end of things tonight. No Maxi Kleber. Am I forgetting anyone?
Adou Thiero.
Adou Thiero
is not, and it really sucks for him because this is a game where he would have played.
Yeah, damn right. he's on the floor. So the Lakers were without. That's even 6 guys from their rotation.
Well, and in particular, what I was getting at with the idea of shorthanded, it's not just that they were missing that many guys; it's how many guys they were missing who handle the ball between Luka, LeBron, Gabe, and Marcus. Those are 4 of your top 5 ball handlers, floor generals, orchestrators of any type of semi-cohesive offense. You and I were texting during the game, and I said to you, with this current crew of available players, obviously Austin's number 1. But the second best ball handler in terms of guys that JJ would want to put on the floor under normal circumstances might be Jared Vanderbilt, to which you said, I might say Jake LaRavia. Either way, that's not good. Respectfully to both of those guys, if they are either one of them, your number 2 ball handler, unless we're talking about back when they were in high school, this is not a good thing.
Or they're playing at like LA Fitness or something like
that.
Then it'll work. That's fine. But yeah, I mean, look, the Lakers were, like you say, were short a ton of it. And
it showed.
And add to that the fact that they were, some of this, quite frankly, should have been able to have been done. What we saw in this game on Monday, where the Lakers turned the ball over 23 times and they just struggle to generate offense, struggle to generate looks, and all that stuff. Some of this should have been able to have been done by the Kings. Portland is actually a young, very aggressive defensive team, and we're just all over. And so Austin Reaves, who did yeoman's work on Monday. I am not being slightly critical of him. 41 points. He had 5 more assists. He was 13 of 22 from the field, 12 of 14 from the line. So it wasn't even like a big volume night for AR. He was just great again. But you could see both the fatigue of doing this 2 nights in a row, and then the ball pressure from Portland. They had 8 turnovers against 5 assists. And this is after having, in the previous 2 games, 20 assists against 3 turnovers. So, I mean, he's been playing so clean. And again, this is not a criticism of AR, because when he took the ball out of his hands, or Portland did, it got even worse.
Well, Portland, they are a very bad team for the Lakers to be facing with this particular limitation. Like if they were missing key players, but the skill sets were more varied, it might be easier for them to get by. Like if, say, they were missing even like Luka and LeBron, but then Deandre Ayton and Jake LaRavia. Like it might be easier to get through some of this. But again, missing so many guys that you would use to handle the ball, to orchestrate offense. And Portland, they are a team with a lot of long, aggressive, athletic defenders. And they didn't just pressure Austin every time he touched the ball.
And then
everybody.
Right.
The minute they touch the ball.
And then you add to that, the Lakers, and this is something that was very interesting that JJ Redick said. I thought, he was, because it's hard to take away stuff from this game. There's one big thing I think that might be something the Lakers can hopefully build on in terms of individual performances that we'll get to before the end of the show. But it's hard to take big lessons about your team when you're playing without 5 guys in your rotation. Like it is. But JJ said, like, we did a lot of good things. Our first possession defense in the half court was quite good. He was very pleased with that. But there's an emphasis on they gave up a lot of rebounds. And part of that is, again, who's missing, but also you have Donovan Clingan in the middle, and the Lakers, especially when Ayton wasn't on the floor, had nobody who could, guys were trying, but Clingan is just enormous, and they just didn't have the bodies and the bulk for that. I just, I first and foremost, enormous amount of respect for what it took for AR to put up the kind of performance that he did. And really appreciated, though. There were 3 or 4 times when in the second half, when it looked like the Lakers could kind of credibly go ahead and call it a night. And they didn't. Like, they made Portland play until the last couple minutes of this game. And then, they didn't threaten to they didn't get within 1 or 2 or 3, but they kept it close enough that Portland had to play this game. And there were many chances for the Lakers to pack it in, and they did not do that.
Well, whether this was a recognition of, hey, if we can somehow manage to win this game, get ourselves to 3-1, and maybe give ourselves, against a lot of big time odds, a bit more of a cushion for however long they're without Luka, without LeBron, without Gabe Vincent. We'll get into his reported length of absence later in the show. Marcus Smart, JJ said after the game that they are hopeful that Marcus and Jaxson Hayes could be available to play Wednesday against the Timberwolves, who will not have Anthony Edwards. So that is a bit of a break for the Lakers. But
Wednesday, of course, against the Timberwolves is scheduled to tip off sometime before Game 3 of the World Series ends.
I know. So it's insane. The Lakers game started 2.5 hours after the Dodgers and ended, as of this recording,
it's still going. We waited as long as we could.
It ended like an hour before the Dodgers, an hour and counting before the Dodgers were done. But like JJ expressed some, I don't know if you'd call it optimism, hope, prayer, whatever, that those guys could be available on Wednesday, but he didn't commit to it. Either way, though, Marcus and Jaxson coming back will be helpful. There's no question, but it still does not really clamp down on what could become a real issue for the Lakers as they try to wade through this period of just trying to create functional offense without enough guys who will start possessions, get everyone in the right places, make competent passes, things like that. Again, like if you're debating between LaRavia or Vando as your second best ball handler and floor general, those guys worked hard and they actually did a decent job moving the ball, but it's still not ideal.
No. There are a couple things that were revealed, I think, in this game about just the construction of the Lakers, and we'll get to that next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or want to ride a hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game more exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, play your first game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Locked On Lakers is also brought to you by Game Time. Basketball season, as Andy mentions, officially here. Nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games, but let's be real. Getting tickets can be a real headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated, and really all you want to do is get in there and cheer on your team. This is where Game Time comes in. It's the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. In our family, we use Game Time all the time for soccer tickets, whether that's Angel City or LAFC. That's what my kids really like to go watch, and it is perfect for it. You can see exactly where you're going to be inside the arena or the stadium, whatever you're going to see. You know exactly what you're going to pay. There are no surprises. And you can do that thing where it's like, hey, let's see right up until the game starts when those great bargains pop up. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. I look at what happened in this game, and Nick Smith, I perfectly reasonable person to sign on a two-way or whatever, but it is clear why he was sort of available. You hope you can kind of turn him into something. He's very athletic. He's very quick. He's sort of all over the place, and he's not much of a floor general, and he's very undersized. And so, when you look at the players they had on the floor, and then, like Bronny, I thought had a really bad first shift, had a really nice play at the end of the first half that led to a bucket for the Lakers, and played pretty well defensively in the second half, which is why he was on the floor, the best defender that they had available. But he is clearly overmatched still, particularly at that size against, frontline NBA talent. You start to go through this thing, no Maxi Kleber, none of it. Like, it's pretty clear the top 10 guys in the Lakers rotation is kind of where it drops off. There is no established 11th guy unless Dalton Connect can, find something in this stretch where he's going to have to play. It didn't get off to a great start, but by the end of the game, Dalton actually looked like he had found a little bit of rhythm and a little bit of confidence. He finished with 16 points, 5 of 13 from the floor, couple steals. He had a block. The Lakers need to find an 11th and 12th player because the drop-off is pretty dramatic, and Gabe Vincent's out for a while.
Yeah, Dan Wojcicki from The Athletic tweeted out, quote, "A source tells me Gabe Vincent will be out between 2 to 4 weeks with an ankle strain/sprain. He was in a boot and crutches today in the locker room." You mentioned before the idea of an 11th man, and obviously you start looking at like the bottom third of the roster, and it can feel kind of dicey, particularly when you're starting to include all three of your two-way players. Chris Mannion and Christian Koloko both only played a few minutes each. Like Koloko in particular did not look good in the few minutes that he played. I've been a Koloko proponent from last year, but he did not have a particularly good preseason, and it's hard to get thrown into the fire under these circumstances, but nonetheless, he did not look good. Most teams, though, if they really start having to rely on guys 11 through 15 for real minutes, especially when, again, the type of players that we mentioned are missing, most teams, to be perfectly honest, are going to be
for sure.
This is not unique to the Lakers.
No, I think it's I'm not even really counting like the two-way guys. I'm looking at Bronny, who's not ready. And I wouldn't expect Thiero, if he was healthy, to be somebody you could count on for like reasonable minutes. I don't think, we'll see, like maybe Kleber when he's healthy is like, but at least when's that going to be? Like there are teams, like the best teams in the league have guys that are sort of outside the regular rotation who, if you got in there, like would be replacement level or better. Well, and the Lakers don't have that.
You mentioned Dalton. The difference between Dalton and Bronny and whatever two-way players you're going to name, or Thiero, Dalton was the guy that's supposed to be ready.
Correct.
Like Dalton is the guy that there should not be, even if Dalton was outside the 10-man rotation for whatever reason. Like sometimes, it takes guys a while to crack into a rotation with a lot of veteran players and aspirations of making deep playoff runs or winning a championship. Like that's not unusual, but Dalton should be ready to play if needed. And it's just been very erratic. Like you said, hopefully the fourth quarter just helps him establish some rhythm that he can carry into the game against Minnesota, because he's going to play. I mean, even if Marcus and Jaxson are back for that game, I think Dalton is still going to play because they're short too many players. And again, ball handling players like Dalton, for the guys that are missing, Dalton qualifies as a ball handling option. Even if, again, like the other guys we mentioned, he's not ideal for the role.
Right.
Relative to your options, you got to throw him in there. And they need the scoring. They need the shooting. They need him to find that form from early last season when people were wondering if the Lakers somehow had a top 5 player land in their lap. Like he doesn't necessarily have to be that good, but he needs to not look like a player that just spending an hour in the Hornets building sucked all of the talent out of his life.
That scene in the
Dark out of his body
when that Muppet loses it's the scene in the Dark Crystal where that Muppet loses its life essence. The distinction that you're making there is really important. What do you mean? Everybody remembers that movie.
Excellent obscure 40-year reference.
I've been watching sports for 6 hours now. Give me a break.
Always topical.
It's a great movie. It scared the heck out of me when I was little.
You were little a long time ago.
It's true. Hard to believe I'm only 26 years old. So I think the distinction you're making here is an important one, because people are, get mad at Nick Smith, and they might get mad at Bronny or whatever it is. Like Bronny is overmatched. Yes, Bronny's overmatched. Like I thought he did some really nice things defensively in the second half. Offensively, he's just not somebody who you really can rely on other than to make like connecting pass. He still plays at the NBA level. In the G League, they've got him doing point guard stuff. In the NBA level, he's a wildly undersized two who can't shoot.
He had back-to-back turnovers that I will at least give Bronny credit. Like the variety was off the chart. He turned the ball over attempting a wraparound, I want to say, to Deandre Ayton.
Yeah, that didn't go well.
And then on the next possession, he turned the ball over by stepping out of bounds. So in that sense, the discrepancy was pretty wide. And again, like he's not necessarily supposed to be ready.
And that's
now,
what I was getting
regardless
at. Regardless
of whether how you think about the pick, the backstory, the nepotism, like whatever. Bronny isn't, under reasonable expectations, supposed to be somebody you can count on right now. Dalton is.
Right. And I think that's the big distinction, is they need to find some of these guys that are sort of not in the road, because the way that, we're already seeing it. And so, Wednesday, for example, the Lakers have a game in Minnesota against an antless Timberwolves team. And if you get Marcus Smart back and you get Jaxson Hayes back, that's a winnable game. I mean, they just beat they beat Minnesota. Granted, it was with Luka, but take away Luka, take
Those
away
guys had Ant.
Right. I mean, so take away Luka, take away Ant, and there's something going on there. You got a chance, but it can't just be AR. It can't just be with like a little bit of extra from Deandre Ayton, who played another nice game, I thought, against Portland. You're going to need, Jake LaRavia, for example. The peripheral stats by the end of the game were okay, but you needed more than 6 shots and 1 field goal.
Let's stay on this for a second when we get back, because this was a game that I think revealed something important about LaRavia and just sort of how the state that the Lakers are in right now can expose specific issues. So we'll get into that coming up next. Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. And that's not SaaS, that's SAD, software as a disservice, as opposed to software as a service. And that's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform of global HR, payroll, IT, and finance, all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. Rippling removes the bottlenecks and busy work that slows teams down. Everything. This Dodger game is still on. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT success runs automatically and perfectly in sync. Right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. Learn more at rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. The game is still on. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNBA for 6 months free.
Locked On Lakers is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all our financial accounts, let alone know what they're worth. We're talking about 401ks and savings accounts, investments. It's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. You cannot track, you cannot fix, you cannot do anything, gain control over your finances if you cannot see it. And this is why I started using Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in a clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or phone. It is a command center for your money. You can see your bank account, your retirement accounts. You can see if you have a health savings account, you can put that in there. You can track all of your spending. And then from there, you can figure out, oh, this is where the money's going, or that account's underperforming, or I didn't even know I was spending my money on this. And so Monarch Money, it's helped me organize my accounts, track my spending, and get a better handle on everything. And it makes it easier to review with everybody around you that needs to know what's going on with you financially. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarch.com for 50% off your first order. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. You had a point to make, Andy, about Jake LaRavia.
Yeah, it was interesting watching this game, and Jake's stats, while he was inefficient from the floor en route to 3 points, 1 of 6 from the field.
I picked him up for my fantasy team for this game, thinking just by accident he was going to have 12 points or 14 points.
Right. He only scored 3 points and missed all 3 threes that he attempted, 1 of 6 from the field, missed 1 of the 2 free throws that he attempted, but he did get 6 rebounds and 5 assists, and against just 1 turnover. And this was on a night where the Lakers turned the ball over 25 times, it felt like more, and gave up 28 points in the process. Also, it felt like more. So, and Jake was as harassed when he had the ball as anybody else. So in that sense, he did a good job with that stuff, except under normal circumstances, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and whatever points, that's Jake LaRavia playing his role as somebody who really is seen as a connective piece for this team. But they needed Jake LaRavia to be more than a connector. They needed him to be an actual producer.
Correct.
And while I think there are nights where Jake will produce, in essentially the counting stats department. And I know rebounds and assists are part of that, but this was a night where you see what can happen if somebody gets moved up the pecking order. And it's not even a question of they can't handle it, because Jake has scored points in games, but they can't be counted on to handle it. And that's the difference. And again, that's where you saw the other four guys in the starting lineup. It was LaRavia, Austin, Deandre, Rui, Vando. The other four scored in double figures. And I think, obviously did not produce as much as was needed, in part because all of them kept turning the ball over, and that limited their opportunities to score.
It does.
But I'm just saying those guys at least met close to, if not the benchmarks for what you would expect from them as scorers. Maybe you hope for a little more from Rui, a little more from Ayton, but they're at least in the ballpark of it. LaRavia, you needed him to move up from connective piece to more tangibly productive piece, and he didn't do it.
He didn't. And what I think it's interesting to contrast LaRavia and Dalton, because one of the things that makes you kind of worry a little bit about like a performance like this from Dalton, it's like, great, it can get him going and kind of bring back some confidence, but it's also not anything he's going to do when the rest of the team is back. Like Dalton in a situation like this is almost like a preseason game. It's like, go be University of Tennessee Dalton Connect, go score, go take shots, take some irresponsible shots, put the ball on the floor. It's like, who else is going to do these things for us? And so like you can have Dalton do that kind of thing, and it plays more into what, like in a perfect world for himself, he'd be like, this is what I do. LaRavia sort of continued to play the role that he would have if everybody was back. And what they needed from him was just a little bit more aggressiveness. Now, to be fair to Jake, part of the problem was he is a guy who's sort of on the perimeter, and we're like, he needs to be, this penetration to kick out to LaRavia or something like that. He's got to sort of get the ball. And we're so like, it's not a perfect setup for him. It's a better game for somebody like Jared Vanderbilt, who is going to create through disruption. And that's what Vando did. He played a really nice game on Monday, but it's also, I think, why he was a bigger part of the offense. It's because, like the one 3-pointer Vando shot, maybe there was more than one, but like,
no, it was just one,
just the one. Yeah. It was a corner three that did not touch anything.
Do you think Vando's, I'm looking up, I'm going to look up right now Vando's 3-point percentage. It likely does not.
It's not good.
No, I know it's not good. That's not what I'm trying to verify. I knew that. It probably doesn't. Okay. No, it's up to date. He's shooting 0% from behind the arc. But do you think
0.0?
I was about to say, if I thought maybe he had made one or whatever, but I wonder what is higher, his percentage of just missed threes or his percentage of airballed threes?
I mean, misses, but not by as much.
No, but like ones that hit the rim.
Right,
like,
I know. It's ones that hit the rim. He has more of those than airballs, but it's not as. It's a tighter race than
I'm honestly, I'm not sure. I'm actually,
I would be willing to make that, but like it's tighter than I would want. Mm-hmm. But like, Vando, this was not a night where for a player who needs sort of organized offense. And when he had the ball in his hands, LaRavia did some nice things. I mean, I picked him up in part because, the Sacramento game, when they had a little bit more of that connectivity, you could see what he does. Like he is I remain very optimistic and pleased with that exchange, especially once they've added Smart, if they can keep on the floor. I mean, DFS has not played yet. Don't believe in Houston. So,
I don't think so.
He wouldn't be playing here either. And so you look at what
he had off-season ankle surgery for people who are unaware.
LaRavia, with that sort of point forward-y kind of thing in the half court, where he's just a good passer, finds the open guy, makes the right play. It's very valuable and it's useful. Just he wasn't able to go outside of that kind of comfort space, and the Lakers didn't have the people to make it so he could be a really functional part of your offense. And so I think if they get Smart back for Wednesday's game, it is going to make a tremendous difference.
Absolutely.
I mean, just a huge difference. Yeah. And without Smart, though, they're going to be in the same boat. Because Minnesota's going to, even without Anthony Edwards, Minnesota defensively is just going to be all over them.
I'll tell you, too, it would actually make a pretty big, this Minnesota game in particular, it would make a big difference if Jaxson Hayes is back, just because they run a lot of bigs between Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle and Naz Reid. Like, that is, obviously Rui and Vando have their responsibilities there, but that can in a lot of ways become a lot on DeAndre Ayton's plate. And as I mentioned before, Koloko's, I believe it was 3 minutes, he packed a lot of ugliness in 3 minutes. So they really could use Hayes back for this game. Like this particular game, his presence, it probably wouldn't make as much of a difference as, a competent or more than competent ball handler, but it would make a bigger difference than it would make a bigger difference than it might in some other games that the Lakers could be facing in the immediate future.
Right, especially like you don't have Kleber, you don't have you don't have these choices. And I will say this: the Lakers, if you were worried at all about their capacity to be a gritty team, to be a physical team, to like I know they turned the ball over a lot in this game. I know they had struggled on the boards and stuff like that. But I mean, again, Donovan Clingan is huge. He's just massive. And then they've got, big athletic guy, a lot of athletic guys who can make your life difficult on the glass. It's like it was a difficult assignment for the Lakers, who were missing some of their better rebounders. And then, a guy like Denny Avia is, he's a sneaky all-star candidate. He's that good at this point.
Shaedon Sharp's having a good season.
And Drew Holiday. It was a funny moment. Like, we were texting about this, like, when there was a possession where Nick Smith is flying all over the place and he's doing stuff, and it's the arms and legs and things. But it might have even been when he got his lone bucket of the game, and then Holiday comes back down and it's zero wasted motion anywhere. But whatever, and it just makes stuff happen. And you look up and he's got 20 points and is still playing. Like a player like that. Would that kind of, just like a guy like that makes a huge difference for a team. And the Lakers need something like that while all these other guys are out. But I am at least optimistic. They play Wednesday. Is it Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Monday again? It's Wednesday, 6 games in 9 nights. If you go back to, and Luka's not
Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, including the Blazers again on following Monday.
Right. And Luka is not expected to be evaluated again, at least until the weekend. So they're going to have to steal a game or two. And I'm actually sort of confident that they can do it if they can get a couple more guys back on the floor. I've been impressed with how they did these last couple nights.
Look, they play hard, man. They play really hard. JJ challenged them again to play with edge. And I thought they did a good job with just trying to play as hard as they can, trying to, you talked about how against Sacramento, they really dictated the rules of engagement. They were not as successful in this game, in part because Portland has personnel to make it harder with the guys that they are missing than Sacramento does. But they really put in the effort. You noted at the beginning of the show, and it's true, they never stopped playing. A guy like DeAndre Ayton, his motor has been running so far in this season. That's a really good sign.
Yep. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 36,000 subscribers to the channel. We will see everyone tomorrow when presumably Game 3 will be over, but we don't know. Everyone have a good evening.